Good morning, students. Welcome to online class. Today, in English class, I am going to teach you about verbs and kinds of verbs. Already in the previous class, we have learned about the parts of speech. You already know what are the verbs. So, not only learning about the verbs, we learn about the kinds of words also. What are the kinds of verbs? So as you know, verbs are the action words. Verb is a word that denotes an action. What you do, what you perform, those are called as a verbs. And not only it as an action but a being or a position. So verb, a verb is a word that an action or being or position. Okay, you already know verbs are the action words. What you drink, hop, skip, write, eat, sleep, chat, walks, these are all the action words. So not only the action or being or a position. So these kind this what we perform, what we do are called as the verbs. So these verbs have the kinds also. There are three kinds of verbs here. The first verb is transitive verb. The first one is transitive verb. Then the second is intransitive verb. Then transitive verb, intransitive verb, and the verbs of the incomplete prediction. Some verbs are there which we can't predict them. They are also called as the link verbs. Verbs of incomplete prediction. They are also called as the link verbs. First one is a transitive verb, intransitive verb, and the verbs of the incomplete prediction. We call them as a link verbs. These link verbs are very few in numbers. We will learn afterwards. But first of all, we will learn about the verbs. Sorry, transitive verb. So, among the three kinds, first one is transitive verb. What is a transitive verb? A verb that needs an object to make a complete a verb that needs an object to make a complete sense by itself. Here, the verb we call it as a transitive when there is an object. Always a transitive verb needs an object so that it gives a complete sense. It gives a complete meaning for that sentence. That kind of a verb where it needs an object is called as an transitive verb. Next comes the intransitive verbs. So here the verb, it needs an object to make a sense, but whereas in an intransitive verb it doesn't need any object to make a sense. A verb does not need an object to make a sense, but a good sense by itself. Here, in the transitive verb, an object is needed, but whereas in intransitive verb, it does not need an object to make a complete sense here. There is no necessity of any object here for this intransitive verb here. Then comes the verbs of the incomplete prediction. Those are all linked verbs. Linked verbs are nothing but the verbs of the complement. So these kind of verbs are very few in numbers. These verbs are the verbs of the complement. This is a sentence should be completed using these words. Without using these words, the meaningful sentence cannot be made. Such words are called as the link verbs. So three kinds of verbs are there: transitive verbs, intransitive verbs, and the verbs of the incomplete prediction. Those are link verbs. Okay, now I will give some examples for the transitive verbs, intransitive verbs, and the link verbs. So first, before giving those examples, I want to make clear what is an object here. Object. So object. When using a verb, when we frame a question, using verb and a word, what and whom. When we frame a question, we are framing a question here using verb and what and whom. Then we will get an answer. When we are asking a question, immediately we will get an answer. A word that answers the question is the object of the verb. Okay, what is an object? When we frame a question using the verb and using the word what and whom, we are making a question using what and whom, then we will immediately get an answer. We will get an answer in the form of an object. In the form of an object. The answer itself is an object here. What is the answer you are getting after framing a question using what and whom? That answer, that word is a object. So here transitive verbs need an object. That object is this. When we frame a question using verb and asking what and whom, we will get an answer, a word. That word itself is a object here. So I'll give examples. You will be very easily to understand what is the object here and how to frame the questions. Okay. we will learn about the transitive verbs. I will give some examples where we will find the verb as well as the object. Then you will understand that verb is a transitive verb. So first example is the chair needs repairs. So this is a sentence here. The chair needs repair. I think you can see one verb is here, that is needs. Okay. The chair needs repair. So now you have to ask a question using what and whom. The chair needs what? The chair needs what? Your answer will be repair. So this is a question and the answer is okay. When we ask a question using what, we are immediately getting an answer as a repair here. Then this verb is transitive verb here. When we get an answer after framing a question using what, then that particular verb is transitive verb. So second example is the hunter killed the lion. The hunter killed the lion. The hunter killed the lion. Again, you can ask a frame of question. The hunter killed what? The hunter killed what? Your answer will be the lion. This is a verb here and this is a object. You are asking a question here, what? So when you frame the question using the verb and an object, then you will get an answer is the lion. The lion. So this is the object here, that is lion. So now we can find killed is the verb here. This is transitive verb. So next, third example is he helps the poor. He helps the poor. Already I have said using what and whom. When we frame a question, we'll get an answer. He helps whom? He helps whom? So verb and this is an object. What you are getting is as an answer. And you are asking whom. By framing the question whom, he helps whom. The answer is the poor. When you get the answer as the poor, then the poor is a subject here. Whereas this helps will become the verb, which is transitive verb. Got it? Is it clear? Okay. Now next, the fourth example is my mother loves me. My mother loves me. So again you frame a question asking whom? Whom? My mother loves whom? My mother loves whom? Me. The answer will be me here, which is a object. So the loves will become the verb here. So which is a transitive verb. Transitive verbs need an object to frame a question using what and whom. Then particular that word is transitive verb. Here in this sentences, needs, that killed, helps, and loves are the transitive verbs. I will give some other example also so that you can find them and classify them as a transitive or the intransitive or the link verbs. Okay, now next is a intransitive verb. What are the intransitive verbs? Already we know that what is the definition of intransitive verb. Here we for this verb it does not need an object here. Without an object, the verb is mentioned in a sentence. I will show you few examples time. He need to he need he need to pray. Now we can't frame a question here using what and whom. He need what? He need what? We're not getting an answer, which is an object here. So he need to pray. Need will be intransitive verb. Here there is no object here. So need is a verb which is intransitive here. Intransitive verb, and these are all transitive verbs. This is also transitive verb. So next example is these plants grow fast. These plants grow fast. Now, we can't frame a question here. These plants grow what? These plants grow whom? We are not getting a perfect answer. So here there is no object in this sentence. So grow itself is a verb which is intransitive verb. Intransitive verb. The next example is she writes well. She writes well. Again, you can see here we can't frame a question and there is no object also in this sentence. So writes verb is intransitive verb here. Fourth example is the bird flew away. The bird flew away. The bird flew what? No object here. The bird flew whom? So bird itself is flying here. Nobody is required for the bird to fly it. So the bird itself is flying. There is no object here. So flew is a intransitive verb. So one more example I'll give here for the transitive verb, which is very easier for you to understand this kind of sentence. The bird flew away. So note down fifth example, that is the boy flew kites. The boy flew kites. Here, this kite cannot fly itself, so what is required? So the boy flew what? By framing a question, you will get an answer, kites. So flew will be the transitive verb here. This is object. This is the difference between the transitive verb and the intransitive verb. Okay, students? Then there are so many other examples are also there where you can learn about the transitive and intransitive verb. I will give some sentences so that you can classify them transitive, intransitive, and the link verbs. Now, next third comes the link verbs. Link verbs are the verbs of the incomplete prediction. The verbs of the complements. Verbs are the complements here. So, I will explain you about the link verbs. Link verbs are very few in number. So, I will write down some verbs here. Then I will give some sentences as an example. So, very common words are is, and, are, was, were, uh, be, been, seems, appear, then become, look, then feel, grow, smell, prove, come, fall, go, keep, taste, sounds. Okay. So, very few words can be called as linked verbs. These are all the linked verbs. Whenever you find these verbs, then you can easily say that those verbs are the linked verbs. Okay. Now I will give some sentences where you can see that what kind of verb sentences are there using the linked verbs. He is a doctor. He is a verb here which is link verb. He is a doctor. So next example is he appears handsome. He appears handsome. So appears is also a link verb. So next comes the example is they made him sorry he seems tired. He seems tired. The seems is also a link verb. John became rich. So this became is also a link verb. Whenever you find these kind of words in a particular sentence, you can easily say that those words are the link verbs. I think this is very clear for you what kind of verbs are the transitive, intransitive, and the link verbs. Okay, students. Now, apart from these three verbs, what you have learned now, already you know some are there auxiliary verbs. You know what are the auxiliary verbs are also. So note down some auxiliary verbs. So here this auxiliary verbs can be classified into to be verbs, then to do verbs, then to have, then last comes the models. So auxiliary verbs can be classified to be, to do, to have, and the models here. So first we see about the is, am, are, was, and where are the to be verbs. Then to do verbs are do, did, and does. Next to have, has, then had. Next comes the fourth one are the models. May, might, can, could, will, shall, should, used to, dare to, ought to, so these are all the model auxiliaries. To be auxiliary verbs, to do auxiliary verbs, to have auxiliary verbs, and the model verbs. Then after this we will see some other verbs where they are called as the direct objects and the indirect objects. So in this we, whereas direct object and indirect object itself is saying that there are two objects in the particular sentence. So such transitive verbs will be used while framing the sentences. So direct and indirect objects. Very certain words are there, such as give, ask, offer, promise, tell. These words have two objects, those are direct objects and the indirect objects. When we write or frame a sentence, first we get the indirect object, then comes the direct object. First we get the indirect object, then the direct object. So let's see the teacher. Example is the teacher gave him a book. The teacher gave him a book. So here we can see the book is the direct object, whereas him, the teacher gave what? The teacher gave what? The teacher gave book. So this is the answer what we are getting when we frame the question using what. So book is a direct object. To whom it has been given? It has been given to him. Him is an indirect object. Okay. So these are all the transitive verbs. When we frame a question, we will get an answer. We will find the two objects here. So those two objects are direct and indirect. So in a sentence, first we will get indirect object, then comes the direct object. So one more example is that the young man offered her a seat. A young man offered her a seat. Now, a young man offered what? A young man offered what? Answer is seat here. So, seat is a direct object, her is an indirect object, whereas offered is a transitive verb. Seat is the direct object, her is the indirect object, whereas this offered is the transitive verb. Offered is the transitive verb. So here direct object and indirect object. In the sentence we will find a verb gave. Here the verb answer is a book. Only frame the question, that is direct object. Then before the direct object we will get the indirect object. Whenever we see a sentence, we will get the indirect object first, then later comes the direct object. The verb is called as an transitive verb. Got it, students? So now note down some sentences, then classify them as a transitive, intransitive, and the link verbs. Then some more sentences I will be giving you, so you can find them. You can write them as a direct and indirect. You can check them as the indirect and the direct objects also. Okay. So first sentence is the tiger caught a deer. The child opened his eyes. Dogs bark. Birds fly at night. She bought 1 dozen apples. She became a teacher. We played chess for 2 hours. The peon rings the bell. The peon rings the bell. A farmer killed a snake. The farmer killed a snake. The fish smells bad. fish smells bad. So these are all the 10 sentences. Just classify them as a transitive verbs, intransitive verbs, and the link verbs. Okay, students? So, so be ready with your homework and everything. Whatever the, if you doubts are there, you please consult the teachers. So this is your homework for tomorrow. Okay? Not yet.